So the Epstein stuff is a huge part of today's politics. It's just what we're talking about. We've been talking about it for a long time. Donald Trump last night signed the bill to make the release of the Epstein files a law. It's weird because he railed against it so much, and then it finally passed. It overwhelmingly passed. Like pretty much everybody voted for it. There's like the one rep from Louisiana. He voted against it, but overwhelmingly everybody voted for it. Nobody wanted to be on a record of saying that they want to protect the pedophiles, so it passed. It's questionable though if it's going to be released or not. Pam Bondi has been very dodgy. From the government's been very dodgy about it. A lot of stuff has been released in little dips and drags and stuff like that. The most recent released had it talked about Larry Summers and how Larry Summers he was former economic advisor for Obama. He has his handprints on the whole housing crisis, pretty much every economic disaster over the last 20 years. Larry Summers essentially has his fingerprints on it. So he is a Democrat, not a good guy. Don't care about him. Take him down. He's super rich, so anything other than jail is not really going to affect him that much. Either way, some of the emails were saying that he was essentially grooming women to have sex with them, and he just talking about Epstein. He was hanging out with Epstein all the way up until essentially the day that Epstein was convicted for the second time. Larry Summers knows full well that Epstein was diddling little kids, and he doesn't seem to be averse to that. So Larry Summers is one guy that got outed in these last emails. The next person that is definitely in trouble from these emails is Steve Bannon. It's hard to take down Steve Bannon just because, I mean, he's already a felon. He already got caught stealing campaign funds, but still MAGA is still okay with this guy that has been stealing from them. It does show Steve Bannon in deep conversation with Epstein all the way up until he went to prison as well. So Epstein was involved with the Trump administration, the Trump circle at the very least, up until the day he was convicted. There's tons of evidence of that. The thing about these emails, it is very hard to find any information about these emails online. I've been scouring all morning. I could find plenty of interviews that have people discussing the emails, but I'm having a hard time finding just the straight up information. So right now I'm trying to getting the information through people in the know. In regards to Epstein, I believe it was just recently Crockett claimed that Trump official received money from Jeffrey Epstein. Apparently it was someone else named Jeffrey Epstein, which is unfortunate for that person. On another note, if your name is Jeffrey Epstein, you got to change your name. You can't just roll with that because that was your born name. I don't love my name, Carl, but I'm still rolling with it because it was what I was born with, but it doesn't really affect my life in a bad way. Like if your name is Jeffrey Epstein, you gotta change it. You gotta do something else. You don't be walking around, people read your name, oh, Jeffrey Epstein. That is just like if it was possible your name was Donald Trump, like change your name. Don't go around like Donald Trump. Anyways, Crockett, they're going to talk to Crockett about her ridiculous claim. Pretty good mess up on that one. But either way, Crockett is always very articulate and always well thought out. And I typically enjoy hearing her speak. Let's hear what she has to say about Epstein today.
Tonight, the president's signature on the Epstein bill has now made its way there. It has started a 30-day clock for the Justice Department to release the Epstein files they have in their possession. That comes as the top Democrat in the Senate is making clear he'll keep the pressure on the Justice Department to stick to that timeline.
This will not and cannot be the end of the work. We'll keep the pressure up, pressure for the president to sign, and then pressure on the DOJ to release the full, unredacted files. No hiding, no game playing, no covering up. Pressure to make sure the documents are released in their entirety and not warped by a corrupt DOJ.
My source tonight sits on the House Oversight Committee, Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. And thank you for being here because now this clock has...
That's what we need is short Schumer clips because that guy is worthless. Can you imagine if we had a competent guy running the Senate, running the House someday?
Started with the president signing this bill behind closed doors tonight. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, was asked earlier today about releasing everything. She repeatedly said, we will follow the law. Do you expect that you'll get all of these documents?
The Pam Bondi looked like a deer in the headlights, looked like she was going to cry. Pam Bondi's in a tough spot, and she deserves it.
by December 18th?
I do not. I absolutely don't expect it, especially when you start to say things like Pam Bondi said she will follow the law, because the only thing that we have seen consistently out of this administration, whether we're talking about the failed prosecution of Comey, and I'm saying failed because that is absolutely what I anticipate is going to happen, we know that they are always doing the opposite of following the law. Every time we look at those court orders that they have ignored, you know, they have literally put us in this constitutional crisis in this country, because for the first time we have another branch of government that seemingly thinks that what other branches have to say, well, you know what, that's advisory. It's not anything that they have to follow. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I don't expect transparency.
The president said tonight he thinks it's going to end up being really embarrassing for Democrats. Are you worried that it's going to be embarrassing for
I'm not worried at all. I can tell you one thing. I ain't never worried about my name being in Epstein files. So that's one thing that we can talk about. Number two, for me, it's not partisan. It's somebody that worked in the criminal justice system.
Embarrassing for Democrats, whatever. If you're hanging out with Epstein, you deserve to be embarrassed. Even if you, let's say you were just hanging out, you didn't know he was dating little kids, you deserve to be embarrassed. Period.
I understand what it is to sit across from a victim. I understand their stories. I understand the trauma, and I understand the lasting effects. Wrong is wrong, right is right. And I think that that is what we are missing in this administration. It seems like he consistently wants to give a pass so long as someone is a follower of his. That's what we saw with the January 6ers, that he decided that he was going to pardon. And then even after they got in trouble again, he decided to pardon them again. He seemingly only wants to go after people that he looks at as if they are opposition. We in this country, what justice looks like is going after whoever is wrong, no matter their race, no matter their political affiliation, and no matter how much money they do or don't have in the bank account.
So you're saying, yeah, you don't care even if it does embarrass Democrats?
I don't care. That's not what this is about. To me, it's not political. We need to make sure that we understand how it was that this was able to take place, and we need to make sure that we tear down those structures. We have an obligation as legislators to make sure that we do better by the people in this country. We need to make sure that there are no other children that end up in similar circumstances, whether Jeffrey Epstein is alive or dead. We need to make sure, because it wasn't just one man. This was a system, a sophisticated system that was set.
We're not sure if Epstein's actually dead. We can't be sure that he's actually dead at this point.
Up. And so we need to make sure that there are no other victims going forward.
One Democrat who's been on defense over Jeffrey Epstein is Stacey Plaskett. She represents the Virgin Islands. She was texting with Jeffrey Epstein the day of Michael Cohen's hearing. Her questions pretty closely followed the text messages between the two of them to ask about Rona Graff, Trump's longtime assistant. You were defending her today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor, doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people?
I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people. Now, have I dug in to find out who this doctor is? I have not. So I will trust and take what he says is that it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein, but I was not attempting to mislead anybody. I literally had maybe 20 minutes before I had to do that debate.
Yeah, but people might see that and say, well, you're trying to make it sound like he took money from
I did not know.
A registered sex offender.
No, but I literally did not know. When you search FEC files, and that's what I had my team to do, I texted them and I said, listen, we're going up. They are saying that she took donations.
Right, but someone might say, well, your team should have done the homework to make sure it wasn't the convicted sex trafficker.
Within 20 minutes, you could not find that out, not from just doing a quick search on FEC. So number one, I made sure that I was clear that it was a Jeffrey Epstein, but I never said that it was specifically that Jeffrey Epstein, because I knew that we would need more time to really dig in.
Well, Stacey Plaskett was texting.
That was a really good explanation. Like really good. And that is unfortunate for that doctor that goes by Dr. Jeffrey Epstein. And we should probably just Dr. Jeffrey Epstein. Looks like he does hair implants in Miami. Probably a good marketing ploy at the very least. But no one's surprised that that guy's donating to Republicans, though.
The Jeffrey Epstein that we're all
Correct.
talking about. You voted against the censure for her to remove her from her committees. You know, we pressed the minority leader Hakeem Jeffries on this last night. Maybe you don't think she should be removed from her committees.
Correct.
But why do so many Democrats seem unwilling to say it's inappropriate to be texting with a registered sex offender about what you're going to ask a witness at a congressional hearing?
So I'm not going to necessarily say that that's the case. Now, this is somebody that was a former prosecutor. Now, I haven't sat down and talked about all the specifics of why Stacey was doing what she was doing. I know that when she got up and she spoke, she talked about the fact that this was one of her constituents. At the end of the day, what I know of prosecutors is that they are typically talking to co-defendants. They are typically talking to the people that have the best information. And what you had the former attorney for the president that was sitting there. And honestly, we knew, or she knew, or at least Jeffrey Epstein presented that he was very cozy with the president. He had more information, registered sex offender or not. The bigger question is, why is it that the president was so cozy with a registered sex offender even after he ultimately ended up with some of his convictions?
Republicans getting mad about Plaskett texting with Epstein is rich, to say the least. With the evidence we've already seen with like Steve Bannon doing it, with Donald Trump doing it, not texting, but Donald Trump was communicating with Epstein, you know, post 2010 for sure. Did a good job covering it up, but that definitely happened. So, but yeah, why are you guys hanging out with this? Why is the president so tight with this guy?
And seemingly he had absolutely been on the plane with him. We know.
Sometimes the enemy of your friend, even though they're an enemy, is your friend. And that sounds kind of like what was happening with Plaskett, is that Epstein was mad, was beefing with Trump for whatever reason. And Plaskett's like, oh, you have a problem with Trump and you were best friends with 10 years? What do you know about him? That is not illegal, and I support it.
About the birthday card. The bigger question is, why is the president of the United States not the one that is in the hot seat for his relationship, instead of us saying, oh, you know what, we're going to take her off of her committee because he decided to text her. Stacey didn't initiate that chain. Jeffrey initiated that chain, and she took the information. Just like if somebody texts me.
Yeah, but she was responding and saying, you know, what are you talking about? Quick, I'm up next. And then her questions were about Rona. But do you think that was inappropriate? I mean, would you?
It does seem like Epstein was trying to take down Donald Trump, but Donald Trump is the president and was able to take down Epstein before them. He was able to put him in prison. And all we know is that Epstein died under, you know, with the Trump administration. He died in a federal prison that was ran by the Donald Trump DOJ.
Did you text with someone who was a registered sex offender
listen,
about what you should ask?
I honestly know that he had never been convicted of any federal crimes at that time.
But he had been in jail already.
He had been
got
in
a plea
jail.
deal.
And my deal is this. The Republicans are constantly texting with a 34-count convicted felon. So if it's okay for them to text them.
Oh. First of all, like, what is CNN doing here? What side are you on? I guess you're playing devil's advocate. That's the best interpretation I could give. But it's funny, like, hey, we're in trial for this guy. This guy knows all this stuff about, you know, Donald Trump and diddling little kids. So that's why we're texting him. But the Republicans literally elected a convicted felon. What's worse? They're both bad.
Text him at any point in time, then I'm not going to say that that's right or wrong, especially to the extent that you're talking about kicking someone off their committee. Were they sexting? Was it a matter of her being involved in the pedophilia? No, it was nothing like that. She was trying to understand. Let's say Jeffrey Epstein said, you know what, I have these pictures, these salacious pictures, because I know that the president got down and did these things. Do you think that it would be inappropriate for her to ask about those things if he said he had personal knowledge?
I think important? The context matters, but obviously it seemed like he was helping her. But I do want to ask you before you go tonight, because in your home state, we've talked about redistricting there. Yeah. The federal judge saying that they have to use that 2021 map yesterday. I mean, this is what truly launched a redistricting arms race, basically, in this nation. I wonder what.
The last part of this interview, Crockett goes on just about some important topics. They're pretty interesting. Let's just take a look real quick.
When you look at that ruling stands, do you think the blue states that have launched their own redistricting should stand down on it?
No, I don't. Because guess what? The president hasn't stood down. And the president started this. So if he wanted to start it and Democrats decide that they're going to finish it, then so be it. At the end of the day, number one, this is not a final ruling. We know that Texas has decided that they are going to appeal this up to the Supreme Court, Trump's Supreme Court, so it's not final. That's number one. Number two, we know that he now is applying pressure on Florida. We know that they were twisting the arms of those in Indiana to the extent that one of the Indiana Republicans ended up being doxxed here recently. We know that they took a seat away in Missouri. We know that they went to North Carolina after North Carolina, in my opinion, illegally took 3 seats. Last time, they took another seat out of North Carolina. We know that he tried to go to South Carolina. We know that as it relates right now,
The gerrymandering thing is completely out of control. Completely out of control. It's been most states are gerrymandered at this point, so that is just a complete mess. But yeah, Crockett is just I haven't really heard a long interview with her yet. I've seen her little videos, TikToks of her, having little quibits or whatever with at her hearings, but she's good. She's really good on her feet. She's very articulate, very well thought out. I'm a huge fan of Crockett. I hope that the redistricting and the gerrymander doesn't see her lose her seat entirely, because we need more Crockett's in Congress for sure. Also, this Epstein stuff, it's just stay tuned. It's gonna keep on getting better by the day.